Hello, hello, and welcome to what you think is Mapping It Out Wednesday, but it's not. We have decided to change our format and change the name of the show. And now it is going to be called Courageous Business Wednesday. And we're so excited about this because part of the idea of changing it is to really help businesses focus more on how they're going to be successful with the underpinning of motivation throughout each of our episodes. Now, Akila is going to tell you more about the themes and what that's going to look like. But before I pass it over to our wonderful Akila, I just want to share that we will actually be hosting this show twice a month instead of every Wednesdays. So the second and last Wednesdays of the month, you will see Courageous Business Wednesday, and you will be able to have a wonderful experience with us for 30 minutes where we will take your questions, concerns, and hopefully shed some light on how to have a business in 2026 that is not only courageous, but also is strategic and is really focused on how to motivate those around you, your team, your client, and yourself. With that, I will introduce our lovely, lovely, lovely co-host, Akila Davis. Hi, Akila.
Hi, Marie. Thank you very much, and happy 2026.
Happy 2026 to you too.
Yes. I love the new year. I love having that time for reflection as to what worked, what didn't work. And I think we did great work bringing our practitioners on last year, and we will continue to do that, of course. But one of the reasons this idea came to broaden our scope is that one of the realizations is that organizations don't fail from bad strategy. Okay. Where the failing comes from is from not having the conversations that matter. And we are hoping to help companies and individuals, business owners, jumpstart those conversations. Okay. Because work has changed, and in my opinion, and from what I've been reading, motivation is no longer optional. When you look at the fact that Harvard Business Review did an article last year that said if you don't know your employees' motivations, you can't help your employees. To me, I'm a big believer in Harvard Business Review's articles, a big fan of them, and I was so pleased to see that because people were not thinking in terms of that. So I think it's helped to bring it mainstream. And we also know, as we've talked about in previous shows, that motivation and AI are related. So it's included in everything that we do. And AI is here to stay. It's a decision that's already been made. It's not whether we like it or not. Okay. So Courageous Business Wednesdays is a space for honest conversations of what is actually working, what is probably broken, and what leaders need to think about next. Does that make sense?
It does make sense. So it sounds like we have three themes that you're going to be playing with this year, which is business strategy. Then I heard you talk about motivation not being an option. And then finally, the thing that a lot of people are afraid of, but I don't think they should be afraid of. I think there's something else behind it as well, which is AI. And as with all new technology, there's good things and bad things about them. And so we need to learn how to navigate it. So it sounds like those are going to be the three main themes that we're going to be looking at this year.
And
all right.
I just want to elaborate a little bit. The
Sure.
first theme is courageous business strategy. Okay. And that is saying that courageous businesses move forward because they're honest with themselves, honest with their employees, and they confront what is no longer working. And that is something that takes a lot of courage because change is not easy, especially when it comes to your business. If you have a small business or a big business, it's the same thing. I had to confront some of my things that weren't working, which is why I'm able to move forward with something like this. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And executives face decisions without perfect data. Even though they're getting more data from AI now, they don't have perfect data. Managers lead people, not roles. And that is so, so important. And employees contribute more than compliance. Okay. So I think those are really interesting lenses to be looking at your courageous business and how you need to take the next courageous move. Okay. And I would underline that with progress begins with the truth.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So the second theme is motivation is the operating system. Okay. Whereas courageous businesses is the strategy, motivation is the operating system because motivation drives performance, retention, innovation. And it's not a perk, it is the structure.
Mm-hmm.
And the more we get into that and understand what that means, the easier it is going to be to make changes as well. And organizations that understand what motivates their people adapt faster, waste less energy, and when motivation is clear, work becomes sustainable.
Mm.
So that's our second strategy, our second theme. The third theme, of course, and you know it, it's about AI. Okay. And in this one, AI is the reflection. And by that, I mean AI is not the savior and AI is not the devil. It reflects and amplifies. Think of it as a funhouse mirror. And it amplifies the fact that if your systems are broken,
Mm-hmm.
it amplifies poor leadership, if it's existent or not. And it amplifies what it is that people need. So in reality, what it does is exposes clarity or confusion and systems that is expressed. Sorry about that. I'm choking up today. It exposes clarity or confusion or broken systems or things like that. So and that is a good reason why some people fear it. Because if we go back to the first theme where it says truth is where progress begins. If you don't
Mm-hmm.
want to face the truth that your systems may be broken or your leadership may be non-existent, you're going to be fearful of that.
Yeah.
But the thing is, whether you want it or not, AI is here to stay.
Mm-hmm.
And the other thing that is important there is like when we talk about AI, some people love it and some people hate it. But the most important thing about AI is the question you should be asking is, am I ready to work differently?
Mm. The great question.
And those are our three teams for 2026. And I'm very excited about them.
I'm excited about those too. So now that we've sort of laid the foundation for what 2026 is going to look like, I thought it'd be fun to talk a little bit about what this month represents to a lot of people. January is usually the month of reflection, renewal, sort of trying to figure out what are next steps. Many people are looking at strategies, they're looking at their plan of attack, so to speak, and they're reflecting upon that or they're working on those plans. And with that, I thought it'd be really interesting to ask you, what are some tips, tricks, tools that you can provide for people as they are in this reflective mode of the new year and also thinking about their business strategy, their plans for the new year? What's your advice?
Okay. Let me break that down into very large companies, medium-sized companies, and small businesses.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Large companies do not normally have December as their year end.
Right.
So they do their planning during the year. Medium-sized businesses may or may not. Small businesses almost always do their planning for January. And when we are looking at that, we have to look at a number of things. One thing, for example, is how did we do last year in terms of what we said we wanted to do? And again, this is where AI comes in. If you have systems that tracks where your business comes from, is it coming from what we consider our ideal client? And if it's not, why are these people doing business with us and we think our ideal clients are not? So take a look at your ideal client. Again, that's something that should be done every year. It's not something that you do and it's stuck. And if your ideal client is working, then you go, fantastic. Now let's see, who's the next client that we can serve in what we have? So put together a second portion to grow your business. If you don't have AI, I would strongly suggest that you start looking at it. I am not suggesting that you jump into it. As a matter of fact, I'm totally against, oh, we need to fix this part of it, so let's do it with AI. No. If you want a successful, cohesive AI system, what you need to do is first do an assessment. Where are we? What do we have that we know is ready and not ready? There's a big difference between jumping into AI because you want to go fast and taking the time. Well, one of the not so good things about that is, I don't know if you know it, but 95% of AI projects in the last 2 years have failed. And that's because it's a systems first solution. As someone who has been in this for a long, long, long time, I'm not talking about AI, I'm talking about systems. To date myself, I was around when computers were first coming in, and I saw a lot of the issues and problems, and I'm seeing them again. So I hope what I'm bringing to the table is a new lens. And we want to start looking at your business first. Because here's the thing. Our current businesses were developed around people and functionality. Because we had accounting, we had operations, we had manufacturing, or what have you. But it was around for functionality because people had specialized skills and they could work together. With AI, that is not necessarily true. For decades, I've heard people talking about getting rid of the silos and integrate what you're doing. Well, here's our opportunity. Because the biggest issue with integration was getting data passed from one part of the company to the next. And when you start looking at, let's say accounting and marketing, they can help each other when they talk. Okay, they can pass the data over. Here's what you did, and then they go, oh, well, this is interesting. Now, let's take a look. Can you show us where the peaks were? At what points were we getting the most sales, things like that. So you can start integrating your departments into one. If you do that, your systems are going to change how they operate. And that's something you need to know. The tasks that may be performed by one group could be performed by AI. Now, I'm a people first AI optimized proponent. Okay. I think for companies that go into AI thinking, oh, I am going to get rid of most of my workforce, is dreaming in Technicolor. It is going to cost them. Okay. What I do believe in is that people are the strongest part of your business. And one of those is just come up last week. I was reading a new article on context graph, because AI processes data. It never understands the why of the data. So now, and we'll be talking about this later, like fully in one of our shows. And because at this point in time, we have, unless they can replicate a human brain, okay, it's very difficult for it to make decisions or it to even come close as to the why. It just, this is, here's what it is. It takes humans to look at it and say, you know what? I know why that happened and go with that. Or, given this, I think intuition, if we try this, this, and this, it will make a big difference. So what you're doing is up-leveling your people to a higher position, and you take away the tasks that were occupying their minds and time to free them up. And if there was something you wanted to do in a business that requires that human reasoning, it's a good time to be doing it. So probably the first thing I would say to people, or one of the things I would say, is if you're going through, what am I going to do for this year? Start thinking about how you're going to integrate people and AI and how you're going to make it work best for you.
So that's one of the big takeaways that you're saying for people is to look at their AI strategy or even begin to create an AI strategy that integrates their people.
And if you want to do it right, take an assessment first. Where am I now? What are the important things for us to be looking at?
All right, I like that. So I'm going to go a little old school with my
Please
thought
do.
process. And so I'm going to say that, well, I think what you've said about AI is very important and they need to do an assessment. One of the tips that I would give someone for the new year, which you sort of said, which I think is very important, is to start with where were you last year? What are the things that you did last year? But I think one twist on that is also to look at where did I fail last year? What were the things that I didn't accomplish last year that if I had accomplished it would move my business forward? And then using that to sort of begin thinking about how can I integrate those things that I didn't get accomplished into my 2026, or maybe I don't need to accomplish those things. Maybe the lesson was I thought I needed those things, but I didn't need those things. So that would be one tip that I would give is to be reflective, but instead of just looking at the positive things that I accomplished, look at the things that were a challenge or that I failed at. It was interesting what you said about categorizing the different types of businesses. And one of the things that I say to my enterprise clients is that even though your fiscal year may begin, which it does, it begins in July for a lot of my clients or September, what I would say is recognize that your clients' fiscal years begin in January. Your clients who are the consumers of your products, their year begins in January. And so start to think about how you're going to speak to them about their new year. Even though it's not your new year, it's still their new year.
Yes.
And how are you going to speak to them to keep them energized and keep yourself top of mind? So that's one thing I would say universal, no matter what size your business is, to remember what's the year that my customer is looking at.
And, I'm glad you said that because at our last meeting, like my year ends at the end of May. Okay. So June is when I start my new year. But I never think of that. I think of that in terms of what I need to do. But we just had our first community meeting, North American Mappers. And one of the things that we're doing next weekend is planning, going over some of the things to help everybody plan and make sure that they've got their plans in place. And the conversation around that is going to be, what do I want more of? What do I want less of? To make the time to do it rather than piling on. It's like you said, you have to ask the negative and the positive.
Yeah. That's really important.
Just wonderful. Thank you.
Yeah. So now do you have any other tips before we sort of close out for this session?
If I started going, we'll go way over time again.
Okay, that's fair and probably true. People who are watching right now are like, yeah, Akilah has a lot of great ideas, so she might go over. But it's good. It's good going over. It's not bad going over. All right. So what I would love to let people know again is that we will be doing our new format twice a month, the second week of the month and the last week of the month. We will be tackling different topics, but the themes, as Akila has stated, will always be around courageous strategy, which is really important. It's not just about strategy, but it's about how to have the courage. And I loved what you said about, being honest, right? That is the key for that. And then motivation as our underlying, always our
Structure.
theme in everything we do, our structure. Yes, that's a really beautiful way of saying it. And then how does all of that fit in the world of technology today? And today's technology is really AI. And what does that look like for different types of businesses and even for consumers as well? So with that, Akila,
One
you
more thing,
thought,
I just
yes.
wanted to say one of the things we would like to do more of this year as well is get your opinion on what it is that you want to see.
Hmm.
So at the bottom of the screen, we're going to have a landing page. Please feel free to go there, ask your questions, request a show on something if you want. It will all be welcome. So thank you very much.
Wonderful. That's wonderful. And with that, I want to say thank you, Akila, for another wonderful session. And we will see everybody at the end of the month for our second show of the year. So bye for now.
Bye bye.